Welcome one and all to episode 14 of Titan Teatime. I'm one of your hosts, Petter, and with me as always I have my co-host, James.
Hey!
And the discussion topic in this month's episode is the most recent chapter, 131, called Rumbling, and we're finally here. Yes, that sound. So relatable.
Like, knowing what Attack on Titan has been and what people have kind of loved about Attack on Titan, it's pretty gruesome.
Yeah.
And to think that he wouldn't show the rumbling in detail as he did is almost foolish. But
Yeah.
if I'm honest, I didn't think we would get this perspective of people getting trampled. At least not this detailed per se. But it should have been obvious. It really should have been.
Yeah, I agree. It should have been.
Most other anime or shonen at least would have somehow saved those people. Like or at least they wouldn't been pulverized like this. But not Attack on Titan, not Isayama. Like this is gruesome. This is a tragedy.
It is 100%.
Yeah, I guess that's like my Spark Notes Wikipedia thoughts.
So my initial reaction was that the chapter, at least the main bulk of it, the rumbling part of it, it felt just like a nightmare to me. Like it's just like this feeling of just horror and dread, and it's just so awful. Like it made me feel kind of similarly, though exaggerated, but it made me feel a similar feeling as I had when the very first time I experienced Attack on Titan in general, which was through episode 1 of the anime. I remember after I saw episode 1 of the Attack on Titan anime, I had to just like sit down, just kind of with my head between my knees, kind of process what I had just witnessed, and it's kind of like, oh my god, that was intense as all hell. I loved it, but oh my god, I need to take a breather. It's like that kind of feeling, although times at least 100 with this chapter here, because it's just so dreadful, like the scenes we see in it. And I think Isayama choosing to portray it through the eyes of these two boys was also really clever, because he made it like at first, early in the chapter, he painted it up as if, or like he gave us, a little bit of what these characters are. He gave them struggles in life, and like dreams and all that kind of stuff. And then toward the end of it, he just, everything is crushed, literally and not literally.
You bring up Ramsey and his brother, or however we're supposed to pronounce it, and I guess this is just going into discussion already. So a couple things about Ramsey, I think, I found it unexpected that we got his perspective, just like I was saying earlier.
Right.
But it also is smart in that it gives us a first, person's perspective, if you will, of the horror of the rumbling.
Yeah.
And I appreciate that new look at it, because for the longest time we were the Eldians, or we were looking at this just like, oh, how are we going to stop this, or we're in Aaron's point of view where he's just causing this, but now we're in, or at least we were in, the viewpoint of the people who are killed by the rumbling. So it's very sombering, but also fascinating.
Yeah.
And maybe not the right word, but I appreciate that new perspective, even though it's horrifying to think about.
Right. Absolutely.
Yeah. And so kudos to Isayama's brilliant mind on that one.
Yeah.
And the other thing I want to say is Ramsey, feel free to call me out and say, no, I don't think so. But Ramsey, he kind of is a parallel to Eren. And I know there's been a lot of parallels to Eren, but in the sense that, so he's a pickpocketer, right?
Yeah.
And they're kind of in a slum situation, refugees, but they're stuck in the world that they live in. And in order for, or at least what Ramsey believes, in order for them to get out of that world, he needs to steal money and, gain enough to buy them freedom.
Yeah.
So in a similar sense, Eren is going against what is morally correct in order to free his people, or at least to get
Right.
freedom. So,
Yeah, dude.
so there
That's
is a bit of
huh.
comparison there, although vastly different. And one could argue the moral complexity of pickpocketing more so than killing or mass genocide. But
Yeah.
I
Well, of
I
course.
do think
But I do
right,
see it. Yeah.
yeah,
That's definitely interesting.
just maybe another sign of someone trying to gain their freedom. Freedom is a big thing in this manga. So anyway,
For
just
sure.
just thought it was interesting.
Yeah, yeah, definitely, definitely. And there's also I mean, like there's also a point later on in the story where his little brother, or at least I'm assuming they're brothers,
Yeah, yeah, that's what I assumed too.
Halil,
Mm-hmm.
is like freaking out, and he's like, "Are we going to get trampled?" And then Ramsey is like, he's very optimistic, and he's like, "No, we're not. We're gonna like get through this in a very like
Mm-hmm.
it felt like an Aaron type of way, or at least like younger Aaron,
Sure.
like
Yeah.
maybe
Yeah.
not older Aaron, or later in the story or middle of the story, but like early in the story. It
Yeah.
gave me that kind of energy, kind of.
Yeah. I can see that.
So and yeah, and they're saying the ground is it's crying. And I like that. I like that.
That was a
Using
good.
using that word for it. It's like
Yeah. Yeah. It's a very good word choice.
yeah. And then we see all these birds, and the panels zoom in on one of the birds, kind of looking
Mm-hmm.
down at them. And there's like yet another one of these things, and there's also this seagull at the end of this chapter.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think about all that? I'm curious.
Well, I mean that. So my first thought was the birds are appearing more and more as the more chapters we get, at least
Yeah.
more frequently.
Hmm.
And I don't know if, and I may have said this last podcast about the birds, but I think one potential is just more so than any other creature, at least according to Aaron's description of what freedom is,
Mm.
birds are free.
Yeah, for
And
sure.
they can view all the things that Armin mentioned in the book. They're not controlled by anything, and they have that freedom. So
Hmm.
potentially that is what he's trying to symbolize there. However, there does seem to be like some sort of, I don't know, connection that
Uh-huh.
the birds are having to Aaron's, I don't know, like, I don't know whether it's his mind or his perspective on certain things, or I don't know.
Yeah.
Like the end of this chapter, it just seems so ominous that Armin would be looking at this bird, you know. I
Yeah.
So I guess like one theory I have is, what if somehow he has, or or might eventually have a mental link with the birds? But why? Why birds specifically? It
Yeah.
doesn't make any sense. Is that one of the powers he was able to gain from combining with Ymir? Like, but why that specific power? And
Right.
does it have anything to do with? Because this is another thought I had. Does this have anything to do with Falco getting the the form that he did? Because his Titan was created under the Aaron's control of Ymir. Is that why he's kind of bird-like?
Oh.
I I
Oh,
don't
there's
I don't
another
know.
interesting idea. Yeah. Yeah. So what I've been thinking about this is, well, it definitely, like, I agree, definitely some kind of connection to Aaron, because in the previous chapter, like from last month, we did see a bunch of these like rhomb shapes showing past memories from Aaron. Similarly
Mm-hmm.
how we saw, in chapter 120 when he entered the Path Throne for the first time. Like it was a
Right.
similar kind of thing, right? And there were some images there that definitely were not seen
Right.
through Aaron's eyes. Like
Mm-hmm.
there is one in particular that like in regards to the birds and all that,
Mm-hmm.
that was supposedly seen from the view of the eagle circulating above Falco, like in chapter
Mm-hmm.
100 or in chapter 91, like the first chapter of the Marley arc, the very very beginning of that. Like that's how we see Falco, like,
Mm-hmm.
and that's like that can't be any other thing but that eagle that Falco is reaching out to, and the very beginning of that.
Mm-hmm.
And so how Aaron got that view, or that image, it must have been through that bird. And I'm thinking, I mean, it's something pathsy, you know.
Right, something pathsy.
And I think it's also something Ymiri,
Yeah.
if we were gonna make that a word as well,
Mm-hmm.
because well, so another thing that I've been thinking as well regarding this chapter, and I think now that we're talking about these birds, I might as well bring this up. So
Okay.
later in the chapter, when Ramsey dies, he
Mm-hmm.
sees Ymir for
Mm-hmm.
like, like, somehow he sees Ymir there,
Right, right.
and I'm thinking that it's possible. Obviously, it's very, very debatable. It's still very unclear. But I think one
Mm-hmm.
possibility is that these birds, as well as Ymir right there, is just kind of a representation of Ymir watching over the world, or not just
Mm.
like just perceiving everything, just
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
being there. Um, I
Mm-hmm.
think that's one possibility. Like she's just there watching,
Yeah.
always. You know.
I agree that is definitely a possibility and one that did come to my head. It
Mm.
almost kind of makes her more of a deity figure than that at least I thought she was. I
Yeah.
always envisioned her more of a prisoner of the, whatever the spine thing is, a prisoner of the Eldian bloodline, rather than a deity of sorts, or deity. I think that's a better way to pronounce it, deity of sorts. But I don't know, like there's a potential that she has more importance or control in the matter um, than that we more so than we know right now. But I don't think you can argue against the fact that she's not going to play more of a role later on, whether that is stopping Aaron or you know encouraging Aaron to do all this. I mean,
Mm.
we this could be a more dark example where Ymir is actually happy that this is happening because she doesn't like this world that she was born into and wants it destroyed.
Yeah.
Maybe this is a combination of Ymir and Aaron's will. I mean, I don't want to necessarily think that's the case, but that's a possibility.
Sure. Mm.
But another one could be she's against this and wants it to stop somehow. So I don't know,
Yeah.
but I think you are right that she is watching at the very least. I don't think we could say Ymir is gone quite
Yeah.
yet.
Yeah. For sure. Yeah. I don't think so either. I think it's possible that she's still making the Titans.
Hmm.
I mean, because I have a hard time, like, because if it's not her, then it would be Zeke, and I don't know.
I don't think it's Zeke.
Yeah, I also have a hard time thinking Zeke would actually make Titans.
I think
Um,
by the obviously Aaron's one of Aaron's reasonings for freeing Ymir is obviously getting rid of the Eldian curse, the Titans. I think eventually. So I think after all this is said and done, they're at least so it's beneficial for Ymir, so she doesn't have to do this anymore.
mm,
Somehow that the paths connection is broken, or that the whole curse of the blood is gone. I don't know how yet, and I'm sure we'll find
yeah,
out eventually. But I personally think that's if Ymir is doing this because she or like maybe this isn't a great way to put it, but Aaron's not holding her hostage, but he says, "Here, I'll free you if you let me do this first." And then after the rumbling, he frees her. I don't know. I'm just throwing out stuff right now.
yeah. Although I don't know how he would have that power. Like, why would he have the power to free her?
Well, maybe right. No, you're right. But maybe their end goal is not only to rumble the world, but destroy something that remember how I don't know if I said this in the podcast, but a long time ago I mentioned that what if
Mm,
their end goal is where that the spine being came from, and they're
right.
going to
Yeah.
eventually destroy that.
I do remember. I think you did mention it on the podcast episode
Yeah.
a while
So that
back.
so that could be something. I don't know, but it's still kind of far fetched.
I mean, maybe, but yeah, it's a possibility. I do think so for sure.
Yeah.
And yeah, I guess that would be a way for him to end it. Yeah. But anyway, I was very very happy to see so much in depth on Aaron's thoughts about
Yes,
like regarding the
me
rumbling.
too.
Like it was, I couldn't be happier about that, and seeing just how torn and guilty he is or
Mm-hmm.
feels about it. I loved this. Like as far as
I did too.
Aaron's mindset goes and his thoughts, and like I feel like we truly understand him now. I mean, we kind of did before we knew he felt regret. Probably like we understand that
Right.
we understood that, but now we're seeing it on like it's so much clearer, and I feel like
Mm-hmm.
for me anyway, I don't have any questions right now regarding Aaron specifically.
Right.
And I mean, it's a nice feeling because we're kind of back to where we used to be, in the first two thirds of the story.
Yeah, I agree with you that I'm very much kind of relieved that we see more conflict in him,
Mm,
whereas in the previous chapter it felt very malicious and
yeah.
you know stubborn and not willing to listen to reason, kind of.
Mm,
But he's obviously thinking about that. He even says at one point it would be better for the Eldians to die, and the Titans just to be destroyed from the world.
mm,
But of course he can't accept that. I mean, who can accept like killing not only yourself but your entire people?
yeah.
I mean, it's a hard thing to accept. I mean, and you can say, well, it takes great maturity. It's like I don't know. That's almost like giving up
Yeah,
kind
no,
of
I
thing.
agree. I agree. And I do 100% understand Aaron. That doesn't mean I'm rooting for him, but I 100% understand him. It's
Right.
like, it's so, it's really, it's Isayama doing really good villain. I mean, Aaron is the villain at this point, but he's like probably the best villain I've ever seen in any fictional work ever.
Yeah.
I would honestly say so.
Yeah. It's true. I mean, I don't know if I don't know if I'd go as far as to say villain. I'd say antagonist. Well,
Okay.
maybe he's the protagonist. It's hard. It's
Yeah,
hard to say.
I think he's the protagonist villain.
Yeah, that's fair. But I agree with you that I understand his way of thinking, but I don't agree with it
Yeah,
or
right.
condone it.
Hmm.
I just love how it shows the conflict within him, and the scene with Ramsey getting beaten up by the other people.
Yeah.
It shows that while he still realizes he's basically going to be the world's greatest murderer,
Hmm.
um, he knows that, but he's still the same Aaron inside where he wants to fight for justice and people's or what he believes to be right. And so it's just this huge conflict within himself that drives him to tears.
Yeah.
He just doesn't know what to do other than what what he knows what he wants to do. You know?
Yeah, and he, yeah, right. But I feel like there's still he's still torn there because he knows it's wrong, but it's the only it's the only solution that he knows.
That he can think of. Yeah.
Yeah, and we get the first time we ever saw Ramsey was in chapter 120 when Aaron
Mhm.
first entered Paths. We saw him in one of those ROM shapes.
Yeah.
And this is the moment we saw like that's from. We finally see the actual moment that's from when Aaron has his
Mhm.
hands on his shoulders. So I think that's nice to finally have that.
Totally.
Uh,
Totally. He was in was he in the chapter that not only the flashback but the one where well I guess it was also flashback but it was kind of from Mikasa and everyone else's point of view and not Aaron's point of view.
you mean
When they
when they went to Marley with the gang?
mhm
Yeah, chapter 123, I think that was.
yeah
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that was Ramsey.
he's
Like
there yeah
he
yeah
looked he looked the same as Ramsey anyway, so I'm pretty sure it was
yeah I mean
Ramsey.
I don't know that's what I always assumed
Yeah,
but
yeah. I
anyway
mean,
so it's
admittedly,
I
Ramsey and Halil look pretty similar, but I learned to distinguish them by their nose.
yeah it was the eyes for me
Oh, I see.
but but no I get it.
Yeah. Why do you think Aaron was disappointed when he learned that humanity lived outside the walls? What's your interpretation on that? When Aaron told, when Aaron said that.
So my interpretation is complicated. So when I hear that, it sounds almost like a spoiled child
Right?
who's
At first, it
who's
does come off like that.
right. and um, and the fact that we see Aaron, during all, I mean, this is farther in the chapter, but and we don't have to go there now. I'm just bringing it up for reference.
Mm.
The images of the Titans just murdering and squashing all these people, and
Yeah.
Aaron just like, wow, this is freedom. But
Yeah.
it's like it's the younger Aaron,
Right.
and he turns to Armin in the path realm. Is like, right, isn't
Yeah.
freedom great, or whatever he says.
Yes.
And so, in seeing that, it's almost like he's, I don't know if that's the childlike innocence or if it's
Mm.
him being him being a stubborn brat. I don't know. Like, it's it's interesting that he would choose to keep the younger Aaron self. Of course, it could just be a personification of Armin's image of Aaron at the time, or like what Aaron is thinking is the same thing that he would think as when he was a child. If that makes sense.
Oh yeah, interesting. Yeah.
So anyway, but
Hmm.
so I think that is a reason why I think he would say disappointed.
So basically, just to make sure I understood you right. Like you basically think it's Aaron kind of reverting into a childlike state of mind in a way, or
Yeah,
like.
more or less. I
Hmm.
mean, he's obviously matured,
Hmm.
but I think the disappointment is almost like I had my expectations, and this is not meeting my expectations. Now I'm mad, or now I'm grumpy, or
Right.
So I don't know. That's kind of
Yeah.
the some of the vibe I got. Not completely, and not to say that Aaron is being a spoiled brat in this situation. I mean, it's obviously much more complicated than that, and he's
Hmm.
thinking about, you know, like I said earlier, well, Eldians dying would be probably better for the world as a whole, but I can't accept that.
Right.
That's not freedom.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Yeah.
so what are your
Right.
thoughts?
So my thoughts about that, why Aaron was disappointed. I don't think you're wrong. I think your thoughts and mine, even though they might not be the exact same, they could go hand in hand and probably both be equally true. But
Mm.
what I think about that is that because of what he knows about humanity, like his experiences with humanity, both inside and outside the walls,
Oh,
because of that, um, so like for Aaron, humans are what make the world a cruel place, and that's like been the theme also from the beginning of the story. Like the world's a cruel place, and it's because of
right.
the humans that live in it. I think it's how Aaron views it, at least at this point.
Hmm.
Like he's kind of come to that realization that it's the humans that make the world such a cruel place, and I think that seeing that there was just more of the same, more bad, I guess, humans beyond the
Mm-hmm.
walls. I think he was disappointed in it because of that, because he knew that all humans, regardless of where they are, they're the same, and they're. I mean, sure, there are good and bad, but there's going to be a lot of bad. I think is at least possible. Like I think could be part of
Mm-hmm.
his reasoning there.
I agree to a certain extent. I don't
Huh?
necessarily think it's humans per se that he blames for all the suffering. I think it's more just the situation of the world at large. Like, the situation that he was in, within the walls,
Hmm.
being imprisoned within the walls and Titans outside of it.
Oh.
I think it was also, I think seeing what the world is like, it's kind of like a similar situation where, you know, yeah, the humans that cause it, but it's just that the world, like society, the world is, we live in a society where I see, that's a joke, but I think it's more of like, the system that's been in place and maybe that he's disappointed in rather than humans as a species. But then again, I guess that does boil down to
Right.
humans as a whole. So I don't know,
Yeah.
but
And
but I do agree with what you're saying that that's
uh
definitely something that he's disappointed in.
right. And he technically he doesn't use the word humans. He uses the word humanity. But yeah, I
Yeah,
mean
humanity.
it is. I think it works like with society as well. Like it is a man-made thing, and
Mm-hmm.
I think that could be why he was disappointed. And but also like you said, like he expected just nature, like and yeah, like probably uninhabited lands. Is what he expected since
Oh,
childhood, right? He and Armin were dreaming about the world beyond the walls, and they never expected there to be humans there because, as far as they knew, all of
that's
humanity outside
true.
the walls were already dead.
Yeah,
So his expectations were that there wouldn't be any humans there,
yeah.
but of course that wasn't the case. But yeah, I think
Oh, that makes it sounds even worse though. He's like goes and see there's humans. It's like, oh,
right, I
what are
know.
you doing?
You gotta die.
That makes it sound worse. I mean, I do see what you're saying, and maybe he does. Maybe that is why he's disappointed. But
I think
I
that could be. I think that's.
yeah.
I don't think that's like the only reason, but I think it could be like
Mm-hmm.
partially it.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, it does make him sound like even worse.
Right. I don't know. I personally think it's more that people aren't really free, even though they're outside the wall. Um,
Yeah,
they're still chained down by hatred, by societal norms,
like yeah, they're chained down by other walls, like not literal walls,
by
but
yeah,
still
right,
like
other right.
yeah. And I think like even the last very last panel of the chapter kind of makes that parallel, where Armin says something about
Mm-hmm.
his and Aaron's dreams, and he uses the word walls, but I don't think he uses the word walls there as like literal walls, but more
Mm-hmm.
so like just the hindrances in the world, whatever it
Mm-hmm.
is. And yeah, and then we have this. Well, first of all, there's a lot of very 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 brutal and tragic panels and pages here showing the rumbling uh, through the eyes of Halil and Ramsey,
Mm-hmm.
and oh my god, it's just
Oh
so
yeah.
so brutal, so well made too, and like how it flashes back between Aaron and these events is oh my god, so powerful,
Incredibly powerful.
truly nightmarish. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Imagine this animated. I don't know how people are gonna take it.
Yeah, dude.
I don't know.
Oh my god, yeah, it's gonna be
But
it's exciting.
it'll be this when this is animated. I think if it it obviously was done well, which I have hope that they will.
Yeah,
If they
yeah.
will, um, this could go down as as one of the most tragic, but also impactful episodes.
Mm,
Not only in Attack on Titan, but maybe ever animated,
dude,
or at least
yeah,
in a story told.
I agree.
That's how like powerful and I guess lack of a better word, impactful
Hmm.
the message that this leaves, or well, message do you call it, like this imagery.
Right,
It's not
right.
there's not that's not really there's not much of a message per se
Yeah, or
yet.
at least the message isn't like in focus here, or at
Right.
least it's
Yeah.
not. Yeah, you're right. But yeah, it's just yeah these. Oh my god, and just like Ramsey's facial expression when he's about to get stomped, like his brother like is laying dead next to him, and he's it's just so good, so harsh.
Yeah. It really
Damn.
is. Oh
Mm.
man, that's so brutal. Like,
Yeah.
whew. I probably shouldn't describe it, but yeah, it's if you're watching it,
Yeah.
And I mean that whole perspective of seeing Ramses getting just smushed.
Yeah.
Whew.
So, well, and so actually, last month when we talked about things we wanted to see next chapter, one of the things I did say was, "Ooh, I want to see the rumbling from the point of view of the victims," or something along those
Oh
lines.
really?
I
Well,
said
there you go.
I did say that, and I got my wish, but oh my god, I did not expect it to be
At what
this
cost?
harsh. Yeah, exactly. But I mean, I'm incredibly satisfied. It's a wonderfully made chapter. It's just
Yeah,
so brutal.
for sure.
Oh
I
man.
agree. I just want to say, on a more lighthearted note,
Yeah.
do you think it's possible to dodge some of the Titans, Colossal Titans? I mean, like
Oh yeah.
sure, there's um, what's the word? Rubble everywhere, from the houses and whatnot. But if you're smart enough,
Mm.
you probably or careful enough. It's
Yeah.
like an
And
extreme
lucky
deadly game of
enough.
Frogger, and lucky enough, extreme deadly game of Frogger. I
Yeah,
mean,
dude,
it could be.
totally. I actually did think about that, and
Oh
there
yeah,
there is one page where like
right. Where they show some of where they've gone, and you can see
Right.
some spots where they didn't
Exactly.
quite
You can
trample.
see a couple spots where there's still like walls from the houses standing. Like there's even a door, like on one
Right.
of the
But you have to
facade.
be
Like
careful though, because there, obviously there was stuff falling.
true,
So
but like
just like Halil, he would have get squished. But there was an area where there was no buildings around. It was just
uh-huh.
this blank area. Nothing had been stomped. So if you
Right.
had gotten there, you might have been okay.
Dude, I think there's a possibility, but there's like it's super, super, super,
It's
super
super
slim.
slim.
Yeah.
And I don't mean to make fun of the people here, but
Right. No, no, but I totally get it. I like it. The thought definitely crossed my mind as well. And did you want to talk more about Ymir here?
yeah, I mean, I don't know. I think we talked a lot about it. I just again, why here?
Yeah, it is still
Why
strange.
why does Ramsey see it?
Exactly. He's not even Eldian.
Right.
So it's strange. I know some people that I talked to were under the impression that these brothers were Eldians, but
No, they're refugees.
yeah, I mean, yeah, they're from different countries, and like even one proof, like one like thing that actually proves that they definitely aren't Eldians in this chapter is that they were surprised when they saw the Wall Titans arriving. Like they clearly
Right.
hadn't received the message that Eren sent to all Eldians, so they aren't Eldians. So it's strange that he, as a non-Eldian, would see Ymir right before he dies. So I think there's still definitely a lot of questions there that I'm.
Which I'm glad, and I was gonna say this
Yeah.
for later, but
Uh-huh.
I think this chapter and a bit of last chapter, but this chapter kind of proves that I don't think we can finish it in one volume. Like this is not the last volume. I think there's
Yeah,
one more.
I definitely hope
Personally,
you're right about that.
I could be wrong, but I think what he's setting up and the
Yeah.
time that he's taking to set it up
Yes.
means that that means there will be another volume. I could be wrong. I'm willing to say that I am if it happens
Yeah.
or if it doesn't happen, but that's my feeling.
Right. And that's also something that I've been thinking about. Is there were some parts previously, like I guess after the Paths chapters, a couple chapters there that followed when they were in Shiganshina and dealing with the chaos there and the Titans and all.
Right.
Like there was like those chapters. Some of them at least felt a little bit rushed. Like
Okay.
I guess, or I know there's a lot of people who have like more problem with those chapters than I do. Like I don't really have that much of a problem with them, but I do see the criticisms that some have brought up about those chapters that they feel a bit rushed, and so because of that, I like a lot of fans were under the impression that Isayama isn't interested in the story anymore. He just wants to finish it and just get done with it.
Oh,
But
please.
yeah, right. But like I feel like the most recent chapter and this one, they definitely prove the opposite of that because I feel like Isayama he's really taking his time with these, especially these last two chapters.
Yeah.
It's been very like I'm not gonna say slow paced, but it's been he's been going at the pace that I think the story needs to be going, and he's definitely not been rushing it because honestly, not that much has happened. Like at least in present day, over the past two chapters.
I mean, the alliance is still on the boat.
Right. Exactly.
Not much time has passed.
One of my favorite of the recent chapters, 127, the one around the campfire with the alliance, like that was also a pretty, I guess in quotation marks, slow chapter. But I mean, I loved it
Right.
more
It's still a
than
good
most
chapter.
of the recent ones. Like, and it also, yeah, it proves that Isayama is not rushing it, just for the
Right.
sake of rushing it.
Totally agree. And you know what? I actually found the part where where they fought the Jaegerists at the port. I thought that went by fast.
Right.
Compared to them still picking up the pieces after Eren starts sending the Titans out.
Oh, yeah.
So that felt fast, and that's when I was like, oh no, like maybe I'm wrong about there being two more volumes. Maybe this next volume is the one. But after these two chapters, I have a feeling that he's got some pretty big ideas in store for us.
Totally. Yeah.
So I'm very excited for that.
Right.
And I think Ymir and the birds are two of those big questions in my mind. Besides, I think another one is Mikasa. But anyway.
And what questions do you have about Mikasa?
Well, just what role that she could possibly, because obviously the scarf has been brought up multiple times,
Right.
and in the previous chapter, and mostly because the previous chapter where Zeke and Aaron are talking about that kind of stuff, and yes, it concludes that Aaron lied, but why did he lie? We don't know from him exactly why he lied. So I think eventually, I don't know how, but eventually there has to be some sort of closure between those two.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that's the thing I'm talking about.
Right. Yeah, like in regards to character development
Correct.
before the story ends. Yeah, for sure, for sure.
Yeah.
It's very interesting. Like, it's fun. Like the moment, like in the chapter, we finally, like, truly understand Aaron, and like what like that question mark is tossed aside. Isayama throws another one at us with Ymir right here. Like, there's
Right.
always gonna be questions in Attack on Titan.
Totally. Love it.
And and actually, during like all this destruction that we see in these rumbling panels, there is one shot we see right when we start to see Child Aaron. There's one panel at the bottom of the page of like some of the rumbling, and we see white flowers.
Yeah, I saw that, and I honestly had thought he had set that aside, or like almost like, just stopped using that symbol or whatever for whatever reason. I don't know, but seeing that again, I was like, okay, maybe there is something to be said important with this.
Yeah. Yeah, and like something that I think is just kind of weird about the white flowers is like, I mean, sure, yeah, they've been around for quite a while, and like they've usually been around when there's been Titans around or something related to the Titans, but however, they are like they are different white flowers, like they look different,
Right.
like a lot of the time
Yeah.
anyway, and I think that's just kind of weird, I guess, and actually something that I forgot to
it's a
mention.
funny detail. It's a funny detail to add. Like.
Yeah.
All this death and destruction, you never really see any sort of vegetation or anything like that, except for these white flowers here.
Right, and in the anime, there's those blue flowers for some reason, or at least in the first season.
I just meant right here, like.
Well, yeah.
In this shot that, I mean, whether they're blue or white or whatever, but just like during this whole destruction, you don't really see any sort of other flowers or vegetations or anything except randomly right there.
Yeah.
Don't know if that's like intentional or if he felt like, what, this lady needs some flowers by her head.
I think it's intentional that they are seemingly white flowers because that has been such a like big thing in the series for whatever reason.
Yeah.
And actually, something I forgot to mention at the beginning of this discussion, when we see like the purse of money that Ramsey and Halil have like by the base of the tree, the way it's laid on the ground kind of makes it look like a white flower. Like, I guess.
Oh, really?
If you stretch it a little bit, or like that, it got me thinking like, ooh. I mean, obviously it's not a white flower, but I feel like it kind of resembles a white flower with like how the edges of the purse kind of go out to the sides like the petals of a flower.
I did think it was kind of strange how he had laid it down.
Right, like maybe that was intentional
like
for Isayama to make it look like a flower. I don't know. I don't know. Or maybe I'm just reading way too much into it for no reason at all.
Who knows? I mean, if he's trying to make it look like a flower here, then it might be less about like the flowers particularly having story significance and more about maybe the symbolism that they might have. I don't know. I'm not sure. It just would be strange that if the flower has some sort of story to tell, if you will, right. why is a money bag? I don't know.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah.
But anyway,
moving on. I thought it was a really nice touch to give Child Aaron basically the same clothes that he had when he entered Paths for the first time together with Zeke.
Yeah.
I think
it's very interesting. I was like, did he ever wear that as a kid? Like maybe, I don't know. Like
not that I can remember. I mean, maybe I'm just misremembering, but I don't think so. And it definitely looks like the clothes he wore when he was with Zeke in Paths. The only difference that I could pick up on was that the length of his hoodie is it shorter here. Not like as a kid, but it was like actually like a long hoodie.
Yeah.
But
Something
yeah,
I want to mention that connects to the child looking Aaron is
yeah.
his Titan. One, I think we can confirm that his actual self is not in a crystal somewhere, and I think we get maybe later confirmation in
Possibly, yeah.
a future panel,
Mm, mm.
because we can see the bottom of his legs, and there's not no sort of string
Oh wait,
connecting down to anything.
do you mean in the paths here, or like the child Aaron,
No, where it
or
says ever since I was born, there before my eyes, it's where you see Aaron's Titan form, and then you see all the Titans in front of him.
oh yeah, oh yeah,
So you can see his little Titan legs, except I think they're the same height as the Colossal Titans, but still, you see
yeah,
at the very bottom, you see them there, and
yeah.
you don't really see anywhere where his body could be. However,
Well,
the line kind of stops at a certain place,
exactly, exactly.
so it
So
could be right there,
yeah, that's what I
or
was thinking.
inside the skull. Oh, okay. I thought you were
Uh,
thinking it was somehow like in the back or something.
oh
My
no
bad.
no no, because I think even in the previous chapter when we saw, obviously it was a different angle, but when we saw Aaron's Titan here, it to me it did look like the string stopped around there.
Mm-hmm.
And that is where I kind of imagined Aaron potentially being in a Warhammer Crystal. Although I mean, obviously, I could be wrong about that, but it is still my suspicion, or
Okay.
my speculation.
Yeah, I just wanted to bring that up briefly, but I
Right.
think you're right. It could still be a possibility, but I'll bring that
Mm.
up towards the end again. But the other thing I want to bring up is the fact that you see like these clouds all around Aaron's Titan form, caused by the destruction of the Titans,
Yeah.
and whether the steam from the Titans or from the destruction,
Right.
either way, it doesn't matter.
Uh huh.
There, clouds all around him, and then
Yes.
there's clouds all around Child Aaron.
Yes.
So
Oh yes.
this is definitely Aaron viewing all this and saying this is freedom,
Mm-hmm.
but from his, while he's watching through his Titan. Yeah, it's very something creepy about it. Like
Yeah.
you're like, I mean, like, it's like his face is so full of joy and like satisfaction or elation, and yet all this destruction.
Uh huh.
And
Yeah.
granted, his face kind of changes afterwards because I think he realizes what's happening, or what it costs to get this freedom.
I still think he looks
Well, no,
like
because he's like freedom, and then there's that brief moment where he's kind of like,
yeah, but like the awe face, I think is more like just enjoyment, just kind of like,
oh, I disagree.
or I mean, I don't know. I
I don't
feel like
think
it's
like him saying freedom, like that face, that's enjoyment. But then the next page where it's right above the poor people being trampled, the face, it definitely looks like someone who is either lost in thought or you know just thinking about something. But then he just kind of, and maybe it's relief, which would be sad, but
right. I think it's something along those lines.
I don't know. I like to think it's more complicated than that.
All right, all right. Look, but well, so here's my 2 cents on Child Aaron here. As long as he is Child Aaron, I don't think it is more complicated than that. Uh, what I think about this is it shows that the present day Aaron, having seen the world and everything in it, he feels guilt for what he's doing. But then we have Aaron as a child. He's still so young and ignorant and inexperienced that he's still able to appreciate and enjoy the freedom that the present day Aaron is creating for the Paradisians. So I think it's a coping mechanism for Aaron to kind of revert into
Sure.
his child's mental state, or his that way of thinking, because it's such a burden on his mind.
Mm-hmm.
The things he's doing, he's trying to escape from that.
Well, exactly. That's it. It's a burden on his mind, and that's why, like, he has that moment where that burden kind of comes into his mind because
Oh,
you see the death right there, but then he quickly turns aside and he's like, "No, we're here at last. This is the site, right, Armin?" And
oh
he's
yeah.
back to his child self.
That is actually, yeah. That's a good way to interpret it too.
So
And
I mean that's just how I saw it because I don't see any reason why, if there's no burden on his mind, why would he be exasperated like that?
yeah, and then he brings up this site, or that site is the thing that he mentioned to Zeke in chapter 121 after
Mm-hmm.
they were done going through the memories of Grisha. Because I think Aaron says something along the lines of, "Oh, but I haven't shown you that site yet," or there's something about that site in that chapter that was
Mm.
very like, what is that? Like there was a lot of questions about that, but now he mentions it to Armin here. This is that site, right, Armin?
Ah.
And that site presumably is just the outside world, the way he and Armin envisioned it as kids. It's unpopulated. It's
Mm-hmm.
like, is that potentially what that site is? I feel like that could be it, but like it's because it's the child Aaron who says it that like that's how it comes off. I think maybe, or like at least in this chapter it is. I think maybe like adult Aaron would be more like that site could be like a different, maybe could have a different meaning for adult Aaron, like something more along the lines of it means freedom for the people of Paradise, but
Hmm.
as a child it was more like we want to be free and see the world, and I mean they already quote unquote knew back then that there were no humans outside of the walls,
Mm-hmm.
so for there to be wasn't even an option. I don't know if I'm even making sense right now, but
Yeah. No, that
um,
that makes sense. But it all falls along the precept that you know Aaron's idea of freedom is no humans outside of the wall, and maybe
right.
that's it. Maybe that is the messed up ideology or idea that Aaron had as a child. Um, but I don't know. It's hard to say. Maybe when he says like this is that site, maybe he's you know talking to Armin in a way that everything we're doing is correct, like almost justifying it.
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah, but that doesn't seem right either.
Well, I also kind of think that child Armin, or sorry, child Aaron right now, he
Mm-hmm.
doesn't really like, for child Aaron, like he was born and raised in a society where there were no other people except for the ones living inside the walls. Like that's just how it is.
Right.
Like no one questioned
Right.
it. Like it just wasn't in their brain space to imagine that there would be people living outside the walls.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember myself like before the basement reveal in the manga,
Oh, of course. Yeah.
before that,
Yeah.
as a reader, I was like, I was also the same way. Everyone who was living inside the walls, like, yeah, sure, of course, there's no people living
Right.
outside
Yeah.
of the walls. Everyone died by the Titans. That's what we learned. Um, and so I think for Child Aaron, the way he's envisioned here, he is still that exact same Aaron. He doesn't understand, or he doesn't know what his present day self is doing. He's only seeing the
Mm-hmm.
clouds. He doesn't see the destruction below the clouds, or below
Mm-hmm.
the smoke. I don't think he understands that he is like what he's doing, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
it's not necessarily like when he says, "Oh, that sight, like freedom. This is amazing." Like I don't think he's saying, "Oh, all these people dying. That's amazing." I think it's just we're here, Armin. Like
Oh,
this
of
is
course.
this is the outside world. This is the site.
Mm-hmm.
That's awesome, right? I think that's more
This
along
yeah.
the lines of
This is that site we had always dreamed of.
right. Yeah.
Right. And I think like, and I don't think it's necessarily that there's no people per se,
Mm.
but more so that well maybe that does tie into people because like, he sees the site and he's above the clouds. He doesn't see the destruction that's happening, or at least the child Aaron doesn't
Yeah.
see the destruction happening or chooses to ignore that,
Hmm.
and he just sees the open sky, blue skies, and the clouds from miles away.
Yeah.
So it's like, oh, this is what freedom is, right? And
Hmm.
this is that sight we longed for. Um, so I don't know. It's interesting. I don't know like if it's gonna what sort of significance it will play, or if this is like a sign that Aaron's not right in the head. I look,
Yeah,
I don't know. I don't know.
I don't know. It remains to be seen. uh, but yes. And so we see Armin briefly, for a brief moment, in paths with Child Aaron here.
Mm-hmm.
What are your thoughts on that? And
I
actually, just want to
Go
add
ahead.
one more thing. Another thing, it's not just in the paths realm. It's also like right by the coordinate.
Mm-hmm.
And so, like, because when we saw Ymir and Zeke in paths, which was before we saw Aaron and Zeke there together, um, they were nowhere near the coordinate, like the tree, you know.
Mm-hmm.
They were just elsewhere. You could see like the branches of the coordinate like far in the
Mm-hmm.
distance, but you they weren't actually there. But now we see Aaron, or now we see Armin with Aaron here, right by the coordinate. I don't know if there's any significance to that specifically. I don't know. What do you think?
I'm not quite sure. It could be the fact that Aaron has control over Ymir, that when he thinks about a person, like he supposedly does here,
Mm,
um,
yeah.
that a connection is happens or something. Like maybe they
Oh,
connect. So maybe
yeah.
maybe mentally Aaron kind of reached out to Armin, as he was doing this. It's like, Armin,
Right.
this is the site. This is it. I did it. I got it. I got the thing
Yeah.
that we dreamed of.
Oh my God.
And maybe for a brief second they connect.
Mm,
But other than that, I have no idea. I don't think it has anything to do with Armin per se. Armin specifically.
right.
I don't think he has that sort of power. Um, but who knows? Maybe UC Armin has something up his sleeves for that.
No, but I actually I really liked your like the first things that you said, like Aaron just kind of, or at least I feel like it makes sense for like when he's in when he is child Aaron, for him to just
Mm-hmm.
kind of subconsciously reach out to Armin over paths like that, because we know that Aaron at this point in the story has the power to communicate with other Eldians through paths. So I
Mm-hmm.
think it makes sense for him to, like, especially when he's in this child state of mind, to just do that kind of accidentally or unintentionally.
Mm-hmm.
Especially when he is, as you said, like when he's thinking about Armin and their shared dreams they had.
Mm-hmm.
I like that a lot. I think that's definitely a good possibility.
Another possibility could be that this is more happening in Armin's mind. Now I don't know why they would be near the coordinate, but either way, like it could be happening in Armin's mind, and
Hmm.
potentially he's seeing Aaron as a child fulfilling the promise that they made. So maybe
Ah,
it's not really.
it's not actually happening.
Well, I mean, yeah, maybe the connection's not actually happening,
Oh.
or it could be. I don't know, but and not to say that this whole child Aaron thing is not actually happening. Although, like, is it actually happening? It's hard because obviously he's not a child anymore.
Well, yeah, yeah,
This is
for
just the
absolutely.
personification of his thoughts that linger from his childhood, like his childhood dreams.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, so I don't know. It's very very interesting to talk about. I will say that. Anyway, sorry.
Definitely. Yeah. No,
I
I
You
agree.
asked the question. I started thinking.
Good,
Okay.
dude. I applaud you. It's what I wanted.
Oh, good.
But yeah, I think it's I think it's interesting how this, like, what this could lead into. Like, is there gonna be more connections with Aaron, or like interactions with Aaron
Mm,
through the paths?
that could be
Uh,
interesting.
Potentially, like, is this just Isayama teasing at the possibility of that?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe, because we all know that Armin wants to solve this whole thing by talking to Aaron. So maybe he's gonna do that later in the story in a similar way
Right.
that's happening right now,
Right.
or that happened for a
It
brief
might,
moment
I
here.
mean, for all we know, it could be the only way.
Right, exactly. So, and especially considering the state Aaron is in right now, I guess before we move on to the Armin and Annie scene, we could talk a
Ooh.
little bit about the very last page.
Oh, okay.
Um, since I
Sure.
guess my thoughts went there now.
Sure. That's fine.
Considering the state Aaron is in, we see, he's still his head and body are still connected by that spine that Ymir created.
Oh
Um,
yeah.
he's still
I was wondering why it was like that. Oh, why didn't
Yeah.
I think of that?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, because obviously his head got blown off.
Yes, exactly. So like
Oh,
his head and body still haven't been like fully reconnected in the real world. And
interesting.
yeah, that was very very interesting to see that because I think well I think a lot of us, or at least I, just kind of expected that spine thing that went out between his body and his head just kind of pulled them together, sort of,
Mm-hmm.
and like reattached his body that way. But it seems it didn't. It just
Or oh, I don't know. I for some reason I thought like the body would grow, or I just thought I thought his head to
ah
be attached to body. I don't know what I thought.
okay, I see. Well, regardless, we now know that his head is definitely not attached to any. Well, it
But
is attached,
so
but
is
it's
the
like
body still
I
there? And I guess you could say it's in the crystal, the Warhammer crystal is maybe,
yeah,
but
it's
I
interesting.
don't know.
I think this is within the crystal right now. It could be
Okay.
like because the things we see going out from his head, they look like Titan hardening things to me.
Mm, they look
Like
stringy.
they do kind of look a little stringy, I guess. It's hard to know for sure, but
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna hold on to my belief that he's in the crystal. It is weird
Okay.
though, like because that neck of his now. It is
Mm-hmm.
rather long, and I
I
think
don't know. I don't think this is in the crystal because you kind of see fleshy stuff where the spine or the neck, whatever, goes, and like it's going out of the flesh.
yeah,
It
whatever
looks
that
like.
is. Yeah, you're right.
I
It
mean, it looks
is
like flesh to me, but I could be wrong.
right. It's something
I mean,
anyway.
this looks like typical inside of a Titan, except for the things on his head.
Yeah, it makes me wonder where he actually is right now. Like, if he's not inside of a crystal on the back of his Titan, then where is he? Because his Titan, like, other than the actual, only the head is like flesh,
Mm-hmm.
so he can't really reside anywhere other than there.
The head.
I guess that's a possibility. But I guess that would be where he is if he's not in a crystal.
Yeah, it's gotta be. Maybe there's also a neck region that has flesh, but I don't remember seeing one. I'm pretty sure it was just the head.
Oh yeah.
You bring a good point. The most likely place would just be the head, but obviously we've never seen that before.
But who's to
So
say? I mean, yeah, it's true. I mean, ECM definitely could bring in new stuff with us, especially with a Titan like this one, which is already very very different from anything we've
right,
seen before.
right,
so, so yeah, it's
agreed.
like anything can happen. Like I guess.
One thing before we go into the Annie and Armin
Yes.
um, section is I just wanted to bring up one kind of interesting comparison. Have you ever seen a show or a movie, an anime, or anything? They'll have the villain, and while the town that they have commanded to be destroyed is being destroyed, the villain is up in the top tower, and he designed the whole thing to be destroyed, and he's pretending to conduct the destruction as if he's the conductor in a choir, or a symphony. He has, and
Ah.
he's like waving his arms as the construction goes on. And
Okay.
it's
Okay.
usually quite
Actually, I think I feel like that might be somewhat of an anime trope, or at
yeah,
least to a degree.
it could be. I don't know, but the reason why I bring that up is because seeing, and I know he's not waving his arms like like a conductor or whatever they call the person leads the
Mm.
band, but the way he's like arms open, joyous face, and then all the destruction is happening around him or below him. It
Yeah.
it kind of it kind of gave me that sort of vibe,
Oh
um,
yeah.
where it's like the villain, his master plan is being fulfilled, and it's beautiful.
Oh yes.
Um, Now I don't think that's a perfect comparison. I'm I don't know, but I think it was just a funny thing that it reminded me of.
Oh yeah, yeah, dude, totally. Yeah, we like in a chapter like this, we have to find a couple things to make us laugh.
Yeah,
You know,
even if it's a little disturbing.
even yeah. But hey, I think it's okay to laugh at disturbing. All right, so into the scene that's probably one of the most precious and sweetest scenes I've ever seen. Uh, or I don't know. It's up there in Attack on Titan anyway. Super super sweet.
I mean, yeah, it's some good stuff. I thought I wanted more. Like
Yeah,
I know
dude,
I love
totally.
it. And, I just it was like, oh, it's so short. No, don't stop yet.
I felt the same way, and I'm not even that big of a shipper.
I mean, it's no coincidence that they're on a ship right now. Just saying, the ship is sailing.
Oh my god, I love that. Oh, that's so true. But it was just such a sweet moment between these two characters, and
Yeah.
I thought it was needed. Like they have obviously talked, you know, a lot before. Like even honestly, even before Annie was like confirmed villain, uh,
Mhm.
like there were nice interactions between these two characters, and like things that
Mhm.
they're kind of calling back at here, especially when Annie is referring to Armin as a a good person,
Right.
and like those types of things. It's a very nice. They have a very nice history, these two characters, and I think it's just really nice to see them talk
Mhm.
one on one here. It's something I wanted like ever since Annie woke up from the crystal several chapters
Right.
ago now.
Totally.
I wanted something like this, and we were finally getting it.
Yeah. I did not expect it would be here.
Yeah.
Um, you know, I mean, I didn't expect they'd still be on the boat. I thought they had gotten to Odiha by now. But I guess it shows the kind of pace that Isayama is going for, and I
Mm.
totally appreciate it. And glad we are getting this one-on-one time between them. And
Uh-huh.
not only is it, I guess you could say closure, but it also it's kind of uh, emphasizes both their characters a little more. What Annie's thinking, the way she views herself, and the way Armin
Yeah.
views himself. Um,
Totally.
so yeah. Anyway, I guess we can get more in detail if you like.
I think it's well. I think it's funny, and honestly, to me at least, very unexpected to see it be so plainly obvious that Armin has feelings for Annie here. Because like, there's no way, like after this scene especially, there's no way anyone can say no. Armin does not have feelings for Annie.
Mm-hmm.
That's impossible to say at this
Yeah,
point. It's so obvious.
totally.
And I think it's honestly it's nice to see in a series like this that doesn't really do a lot of that kind of stuff. It's nice to see the rare occasional instance of it.
Yeah, like the confession thing. I mean, you know, I kind of wanted I was wanting to see like him say the words "I like you" or something like that. But
Hmm.
I think the way they went about it is pretty great too. I mean,
Yeah.
the, the fact he says I wanted to see you. And he's like, do you really not get it? Do I have to like spell it out for you?
Yeah.
Or
And after how much Hitch teased him about.
right.
Uh,
And I really like that way of saying it. It's much more interesting to read than just saying like I like you.
yeah. Oh,
Um,
absolutely. Mm.
right. So what I like about this, besides that, kind of confession, is that she doesn't get it. She
Yeah.
doesn't get why he. Now, now, now. I guess there's a couple ways you can read it. You can read it as that she doesn't get it. She doesn't get the romantic feelings whatsoever. And knowing Annie, yes,
Mm.
because she kind of was the same way with Bertolt. Who obviously had a thing for Annie,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
she
That's
was
true.
just blatantly like disregarded. Like it didn't go through her thick skull.
Yeah.
But another way you could take it is maybe she doesn't see herself as someone who anybody would like.
I
Even
think that's it.
yeah, because even back when Bertolt was saying that stuff, she was saying like, oh, I'm sure there's like prettier girls that could do it, or I probably wouldn't be able to do it. I think she
Uh-huh.
has a lot of like self doubt or like lack of
Oh,
self confidence, at least in her
absolutely.
looks, and maybe
Hmm.
even in her personality, or probably her
Yeah.
personality as well.
I think
Um,
so. Absolutely.
so I think this is like a moment where it's like, why would you even want to see me? Why would you want to talk to me? So anyway, it's interesting.
Yeah. Yeah, because she hasn't gotten a lot of like reason to be confident in herself other than like her father. I mean, she's close to her father, or her adoptive father, I suppose. You know,
Mm-hmm.
obviously she's close to him, but other than him, there isn't really any other people I think who have shown love to Annie, in her life.
Mm-hmm.
It's only really that
Mm-hmm.
one person, and that's why she's been so, or up until recently, she was so determined to save his life. But now, when he is presumably dead, I think she's at a loss.
I agree. And so I think that's why she just finds it shocking that someone would, have these feelings for her.
Absolutely,
But
yeah.
it kind of changes because so they have that moment that almost kind of like an awkward silence. But
Mm.
then she's like, "What are we doing right now? People are dying. We're having like this precious
Yeah.
bonding moment.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's kind of like okay." He's almost like, "Okay, you get your Annie Armin shipping, but not. Let's be real. Like
Yeah.
there's some serious stuff going down."
For sure.
But then again, like she does bring up again that she thinks he's a good person. That's why he would talk to her. So maybe there is a continuation there. But the way she says it, it just seems like it's like how can she talk about or how can they talk about this kind of stuff when people are dying? But anyway.
Yeah, yeah, no, I mean it definitely, and it's again, like I think I've mentioned this many of the recent chapters since Annie got back. Like she's a realist,
Yeah.
more than pretty much any character in the story, and so I think it makes perfect sense for her to kind of just snap back into to that state of mind where she's like, well, just actually in the present.
True. And well, and yeah, you're right. And then she kind of like after she says that, oh, I totally missed it. Didn't miss this, but I forgot about this or this panel. Like she kind of just has this epiphany. She's like, oh, now I get it. So
Mm.
okay, so I guess that makes sense why it kind of that why the conversation flowed that way.
Right. But yeah, it's still as I said before, it's nice to get that call back to, Annie calling Armin a good person. And it's also
Yeah.
interesting, I think, to see his reaction to that, not feeling comfortable being called that because of what he has done. Because I mean, he is pretty much just as bad as Annie when it comes to, having done bad things. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
he is maybe even worse. I don't know. They've both. I mean, it doesn't really matter. They've both killed a lot of people. So
I agree. I don't think it really matters who's the worst person or whatever.
yeah,
But
yeah.
I really like this boldness right here,
Uh
where
huh.
she there's that where she kind of tries to call him out like, oh, because you're a good person, right? And then she tries to get up and he's like, "Shoosh, sit
Yeah.
down,"
Right.
or sit down, or not maybe not that intense, but sit down.
Yeah, dude, totally.
Dude, Armin, go for it, man. Uh,
And I mean, it's funny too. Well, because even like earlier in the scene when it's more cute, I guess, Armin is saying all these obvious things and he's blushing, and when he is, even Annie is blushing too.
yeah.
Like she's saying, "I don't know what you mean," but I think she actually knows because she is blushing when he's talking about it. Like when he's
Mm.
talking like that, she
Mm-hmm.
blushes. Like her face says she understands what he means, but her words say the opposite. I think she's just kind of like it is, as you said earlier. It's her bad confidence in herself,
Mm-hmm.
um, that she doesn't dare admit that she understands, I guess.
Almost like she doesn't feel like she deserves it. You
Yeah,
know.
well, yeah, that too. I think for sure. I think it goes hand in hand with a lot of the recent episodes or discussions we've had. I've tried to
Mm-hmm.
push for a thing about Annie where she has this desire for like being, well, for being forgiven by the other characters, or in various ways. She is feeling a lot of guilt over the things that she's done, and she wants to
Mm-hmm.
somehow get the people that she is working with, or the people that are close to her, to not think of her as that bad of a person that she sees herself as. But I think it's like, one of her dreams, I guess, in a way, to not be viewed as a horrible person.
Maybe. And maybe she just can't like allow herself to accept that. I don't know because if she was trying to show or have the or fulfill that dream of her not being a horrible person, you think she would kind of latch on to what Armin was saying there. instead of just be like, no, I don't get it.
Yeah, no, but
But I
I
guess
think
like it's
it's
like
also
inner turmoil going
yeah,
on, I
exactly. And
suppose.
I think she doesn't think of herself as a good person, but she wants like she desires others to think of her as a good person, like and to forgive her. Because I think forgiveness has been a thing with her. Like it's been hinted at least twice in the story. First in the Marley arc when we had the flashbacks to when they were kids, when they were talking about the man who hanged himself,
Mm-hmm.
and they're speculating like why did he do that, or like why did he, and Annie's speculation on that is maybe he wanted someone to forgive him.
Mm-hmm.
And then Bertolt says maybe he wanted someone to judge him. And I think Bertolt was right
Mm-hmm.
in that instance. But just having Annie's speculation there being about forgiveness, I think is interesting because later on, and we've talked about this before, but in chapter
Yeah,
120,
I
chapter
know.
127, we had
I
that.
was when I came to this chapter, I was ready for this.
Yeah, we had the
I was
joke
like,
on the
oh, God,
wagons. Yeah,
Petter's gonna go off again.
I know.
Okay. I'm kidding. Keep going. You keep going. Go
But
for
yeah,
it.
you know what I'm about to say. So the joke on the wagon when they're like right before the battle at the harbor,
Uh huh.
and it's played as a joke. Izuyama plays it as a joke.
Mm-hmm.
When Sean tells Reiner, I'm still not able to forgive you, and then Annie's like, and how about me? And then just cuts away from that. It's super funny. It's really really funny. But
Right.
it's also I mean Annie obviously doesn't mean it as a joke. She's not joking when she asks that. She's legit. It's a legit question from her point,
Mm.
right? So I do think that throughout Annie's story, that being forgiven and forgiveness in general has been a very important theme for her. And I think Armin is like he's not saying I forgive you in this scene, but the things he says about himself and like they're talking, about their both of their past sins. I think means that he does forgive her because he basically says that he has done at least as awful things himself. So even though he doesn't say the words, I think he does forgive her, and I think that's something that at least that I take away from this scene with them in this chapter.
Yeah. I think that's definitely a way to interpret it. I also think that it's, I know that's a nice way to say you're wrong. No.
Yeah,
No. I don't think you're wrong. I think you could
it's fine
be.
if you do.
You could no. Well, I think you could be hitting the nail on the head.
Mm,
I think with the forgiveness part, I just see it more as she just sees herself as a bad person, that everyone else is a good person, or at least a lot of other people. Like, she kind of looks up to Armin in some cases. Like, she repeatedly calls him a good person.
yeah.
Um, you know, a good person like you can never like a bad person like me. And that's when
Mm,
Armin not snaps, but he kind of gets a little serious. Like, I was gonna say this earlier, is you have that blushing section where it's kind of a cute moment. Then it
yeah.
gets a little more serious and a little deeper. And he asks her to sit down, but he says, "I don't like you when you call me that because I'm not a good person, or at least
Mm,
not a good person in the way you interpret it." And so I see it more as not necessarily her or him forgiving her, but basically he's telling her, "Look, this ideal good person that you see in me is not there. Like, we all have uh, parts of our lives that we regret, or things that we've done that don't make us this ideal good person."
right.
So I think you can start to maybe. I mean, he doesn't say this, but maybe he's trying to tell her, forgive yourself in
Yes,
that
I
way.
mean, absolutely. I think that's what Annie needs to do, and that's what she is so far unable to do. But yeah, I agree. She definitely
Hmm.
needs to be able to forgive herself. Definitely.
Yeah.
And I think honestly, I would love for that to. I would love for her to be able to do that before the end of the story. Uh, I think that would be a beautiful and really probably pretty impactful moment if she was finally
Hmm.
able to get over that and forgive herself. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Get over her, self doubt and forgive
Yeah.
herself.
Yeah. All of that. Yeah. For sure. Obviously, it's a hard thing to do, but it would be nice to see it.
Oh yeah, of course, and it is, and it will continue to take time. But this
Mm.
this moment is very important for both of them, I think.
Yeah.
So we've been mostly talking about Annie, but I think this is where we see Armin I don't know. I'm not saying like he's, becoming like the leader, or I'm not saying that whatsoever. What I am saying is, I think he's taking more responsibility um, for his choices, but also um, just showing that he is thinking about this situation. What is he going to do? How is he going to somehow confront Aaron? And obviously, the solution is not given here, but
Mm.
He's been thinking about that promise that he made with Aaron, and maybe that's part of the reason why Aaron has become the way he has, or at least that's what I think he's believing. Anyway,
Yeah, yeah,
um,
no, I agree. I agree.
so one thing I want to bring up that again, and this is another thing where if you think it's wrong, please tell me.
Uh-huh.
What if the view of Aaron as a child and all that is not so much exactly what Aaron is, thinking? I mean, yes, he is thinking that, but it's not so much Aaron's point of view, but more of Armin's point of view of the situation.
Mm-hmm.
So because he is remembering that time when they were a child, and so he's kind of envisioning Aaron's mindset as if he was still a child, perhaps.
Right.
Um,
I feel like you've kind of been sort of saying that throughout this discussion,
okay.
although
Oh,
not
okay.
as straight, I guess, as you just did.
Okay.
But yeah, that definitely is not the way I interpreted it, but I do think it's an interesting way to interpret it. I don't think I agree with you, but I definitely don't think it's a
No, no, no.
bad. I definitely don't think it's a bad way to interpret
Right.
it.
And I don't even know if I agree with it myself. Like I
Mm-hmm.
said, I think like what we mentioned with the paths realm part.
Uh,
There's different ways that can be interpreted. Well, I guess I just lastly well, not lastly. I have two other thoughts, but the
uh-huh.
bird.
Yes.
Um, so it is disturbing to me that the bird just kind of perches there, and Armin and the bird kind of stare at each other,
Yes.
and then when Armin just look, and he's still staring at it, and then it cuts to Aaron's head.
Yep.
Now I don't know if that is just symbolism, or is it implying that the birds and Aaron have some sort of connection that we just don't understand yet.
Dude,
I
there's totally a connection between Aaron and the
I mean
birds.
that if more so than anything we've seen with the birds before, this is the biggest sign that there
Uh-huh.
is some sort of connection.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I mean, what are your thoughts?
Like about the bird, yeah, I definitely think there's a connection. Like ever since the previous chapter, I've been pretty sure there's something, like
Mm-hmm.
somehow through paths, Aaron can see through the eyes of birds. Maybe it's not just the birds. Maybe it's all animals. But maybe he chooses birds because he views birds as the free, the ones who are the most free.
Free,
Um,
right?
like potentially something like that. I don't know. But I think but then again, as I said before as well, I think it's also possible that it's Ymir. Maybe Ymir is the one who's watching over the world
Mm.
through the birds.
Mm-hmm.
I think either could be a possibility. Maybe both. Maybe both. I mean, because they both. I mean, Aaron's Titans. Obviously, all three of them came from Ymir. So I guess they kind of, in that regard, have a shared memory in a way.
Mm-hmm.
So if Ymir sees through the birds, then maybe so does Aaron potentially.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
I don't know. It's obviously very hard to say at this point, but there's something there.
There's gotta be. It can't just be mere. Maybe it is, but it just can't be mere like, well, birds are free and they fly up high in the sky, and they get to see everything that we dreamed of. So
Yeah.
that's just that.
Right.
It
No,
could
I
be that,
agree.
but I there's too many instances that it can't just mean that. But
Yeah.
maybe it does.
No, no, I definitely don't think it's only symbolism. I think there's definitely
Mhm.
significance to it. And I'm very excited to see exactly what that is.
Yeah. My last thought is about what Armin says here.
Uh-huh.
Um, Annie asks, or Annie says, "Well, it wasn't the world you dreamed of, huh?" And he's like, "No, it wasn't. It was completely different."
Mm.
But I still want to believe that there's still a world we don't know about yet out there, past the walls.
Mm.
This could be taken. I think I am 90% sure, maybe even 95% sure, this is supposed to be taken as, kind of symbolic, metaphorical.
Yeah, I think so.
That the walls are the mental, or, the society walls or the humanity walls, whatever you want to call them, and not
Hmm.
necessarily, physical walls.
Right. Yeah. Just any hindrance that might be
Right, any
for
hindrance
people.
to your freedom, right, to people.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, and that there could still possibly be a future where humanity exists beyond these walls. Um,
Mm.
and does that imply stopping Aaron, or does that imply helping Aaron? Because technically, Aaron is trying to make that future. I mean, I think
Ah.
I think they'll
Yeah.
try to stop him. I'm not. I don't think they'll join him. But hey, I mean, it could happen. But the other 5% or 10%, whatever I said, the other 5%
Uh-huh.
is this crazy idea. And what if the world as we know it is really not the whole world that we understand? Like,
Huh?
just like how Parody Island,
Mm.
how we thought that the humanity was only there, but in reality, humanity was outside the walls.
Ah.
What if there is still another wall of sorts outside of that, and
Hmm.
not necessarily like a physical wall, but what if, and this is really like far fetched kind of stuff.
All right.
Like, what if like this is actually kind of um, a simulation, or some sort of like technological barrier, or
Whoa.
dome, if you will, that keeps humanity inside, and there's actually something outside of that
Oh
dome.
my God.
Now that I think that would take the direction of Attack on Titan into places that a lot of readers would be uncomfortable with, and probably
Oh my God.
um, people not may not like, especially when we're supposed to be ending this pretty soon.
Yeah.
However, I still think back to what Ymir is, and how she's still watching somehow,
Mm.
and whether she's some sort of deity or ghost. I don't know, like, but what if there's
Yeah.
more to her that we don't quite understand? But and I, going back to my other crazy theory where they tried to go to the point of the Paths realm, and they take that out, with the rumbling somehow. I I don't know. There's a lot there's a lot of crazy theories that I can think of. None of them will come true, but
Who knows?
there's always
Maybe.
that like one grain of sand that gets through the crazy theory that turns out to be
Yeah, dude. I
true
mean,
sometimes.
I've seen some very crazy theories that no one believed would be true, but then they somehow came true. Hey, I
Yeah.
remember I remember when you said, "Oh, hey, what if the Titans are just swimming across the ocean?" Wouldn't you see it? They actually did. So,
I mean, in hindsight, it kind of was like, well, maybe that was probably the only way. But
um,
I guess at the time it was pretty far fetched.
at the time,
Um,
we just saw it as a joke, kind of. We just laughed at
right?
it.
Yeah, it's true. It's true.
So I thought that
But
was
anyways,
like it's funny in hindsight.
yeah, in hindsight, it is pretty funny. But that was just something that got my mind going. But like I said, this is 95, maybe more percent, just metaphorically speaking.
Right.
Um, freedom beyond the walls that humanity has put up.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
I don't know how they're gonna get over those walls to the freedom that Armin, um, and Aaron believe in. I guess
Right.
just Armin in this case, I suppose. But I'm excited to find out how, because
Totally.
This is good. It's good stuff.
It's amazing stuff. Oh my god. Yeah. It's yeah, I mean that is the big question, isn't it? How are they going to end this?
Right.
Like if it doesn't end Aaron's way, then how is it going to end? Because I mean Aaron's way is
Right.
very like you know, there is we can see a solution there even though it's an awful solution, it is a solution.
Mm-hmm.
And if it doesn't go his way, if the alliance somehow manages to stop him, then how is that going to lead to a solution? That's the question.
Mm-hmm.
But
I,
yeah.
yeah, I don't know. I think either way, this is going to end in tragedy. And I know I've said this multiple times, but I cannot see this being, a we all hold hands and everyone is happy and not dead.
Yeah.
Like, after this chapter, there is no way that Aaron cannot be punished in some way for his crimes if they stop him, you know?
Yeah.
And then if they don't stop him, I mean, I guess he'll live maybe, but that maybe the Eldians will do something about him. I don't know. Like, it almost to me it seems like no matter what they do, unless there's something that happens that we can't even predict, Aaron is going to die.
Right.
And either by the hands of the Alliance or maybe the Eldian people will try to kill him. I don't know. Like, to me, it doesn't seem it's going to end peacefully, but rather tragically. And I don't see Aaron making it at the end.
I agree 100%.
Which really conflicts with what we've seen in the final panel.
Yeah, actually, let's talk about the final panel. I think,
Sure.
I would say 99% of the manga readers who are this into the manga have seen that panel, so let's talk about it.
Okay.
I know we haven't openly talked about it on this podcast before, but who gives a shit? I'm sure like pretty much everyone have seen it.
Yeah.
So basically, yeah, some speculations are that it's Aaron holding the baby.
Mm-hmm.
But I definitely don't think that
a baby.
or yeah, right, yeah. I definitely don't think that has to be it.
No, I don't think it has to be that.
I've heard a lot of speculation saying it might be Zeke. I don't think that's out of the question.
No.
My big speculation, though, personally, is that it might be Grisha holding Aaron. It's just a flashback panel.
Yeah. I think ever since we saw Grisha in that, I think it was last chapter. Was it last chapter?
Yeah, we did see Grisha last chapter, yeah.
Yeah. He's wearing, it looks like he's wearing the same clothing as the guy in the final panel.
Right.
And that, in the final panel, the guy is, obviously holding the baby and says, "Omae wa Ju," or Ju, whichever the correct one. I think Ju is gun, so Ju.
Okay.
Ju, which is freedom.
Right. Oh yeah, you are free.
So you're free. It fits the narrative better if it's Grisha holding Aaron as a baby and telling him that he's free. That once you're born into this world, you are meant to be free, or like that you are free.
Yeah.
It could also be Grisha saying this because he's already seen the memories that his son was supposed to give to him,
Maybe.
And maybe he's telling him that he's free when he's a child, just for reasons.
Yeah.
But I don't know. It's really hard to say. I guess this goes back to the crazy theory of like it all being assimilation of some sort.
Oh dear God.
but what if like Grisha's dad holds Aaron as a baby? I don't know how that makes any sense. Maybe once you die, you
Grisha's dad?
Or not Grisha's dad. Sorry, Aaron's dad, Grisha. Sorry, my thoughts are getting mixed up.
Okay.
Maybe when you die, you're put back into the simulation. I don't know. It does. It's crazy. Crazy theories.
I'm gonna choose to disregard that theory.
Oh,
that
sure. Feel
that
free.
specific theory.
It makes no sense in the Attack on Titan continuum.
Yeah.
But
Like
anyway,
I'd much rather believe in your theory about Eren marching the Titans to a place where they can destroy paths.
uh-huh.
However, at this point that doesn't seem to be the case at all
No.
either.
No.
So I'm
No, no.
sorry, James.
Well, no, I'm not asking you to believe it. I'm just
Yeah.
I just put theories out there just for the sake of,
Mm,
pontification and trying to come to a truth.
right. Yeah,
But
no,
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 I
it
I
is
mean
interesting.
it's more like I'm throwing these ideas on out on a wall and trying to see what sticks.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Totally. I mean, yeah. I mean, and I can do stuff like that sometimes too. I think actually, and here's a short anecdote about nothing related to this, but I'm gonna share it anyway.
Uh huh.
I'm gonna make it short though. I think I got it from my dad, who is like he's told me many times, like when he's in meetings and stuff at work, he
Mm-hmm.
often, like when someone says something, like comes up with an idea, and everyone's like immediately like, oh yeah, that's a great idea. Then even if my dad agrees with that idea, he he tries to pose like basically the opposite and like bring up that
Mm-hmm.
idea just to make everyone else consider the opposite idea and just to
Right.
see.
He plays devil's advocate.
Yeah, yeah, pretty much, yeah, exactly, just to make sure like everyone didn't just go for the first best option, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
And I think
Totally.
I have a bit of a similar thing, and it seems you do too, and I think honestly I enjoy that. I like that kind of thing.
No, well, I think that I think that
I
brings
think it's
up
good.
better discussion. Mm-hmm.
Uh-huh. For sure,
I,
absolutely.
I guess kind of just to put a bow on my thoughts, I suppose. I
Mm.
personally think that the or right now my thinking is this final panel is a memory of sorts,
Right.
a flashback, if you will, of Grisha holding Eren as a baby and telling him that he's free for
Yeah,
whatever
actually.
reason.
Yeah, and to follow up on that, actually, what I've been thinking, what could be, I guess, the last two panels of the whole story,
Mm-hmm.
is two panels that mirror each other very
Mm-hmm.
closely. It's this
Yeah.
panel that we have, and I think, yeah, you and I both seem to think that it's Grisha holding Aaron. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but the panel right before that is from present day, and it's someone holding Historia's child. It might just be Historia herself, or someone else. I guess, I mean, I can't be totally sure about that, but it's going to be her child, and I mean, probably Historia herself, but regardless.
Mm-hmm.
And she says, or whoever holds the baby says, "You are free," because at that point in the story, the
Mm-hmm.
the whole struggle is done and over with,
Right.
and so it shows that that baby is free, and maybe even the Titan curse is gone, symbolizing even more so that this baby is free, and it
Or the
and
entire world is demolished by the rumbling.
maybe that's it, that is it. I mean, regardless of who ends up winning this, that baby is going to be free, and then it's also going to, like, at the very last panel, like right side by side, I guess, with that
Mm-hmm.
panel, potentially, maybe we're gonna have Grisha holding Aaron in the past
Mm-hmm.
saying the exact same thing, just as, like, just mirroring that.
So a couple things. One, I agree that with that image of the Grisha being the last panel, but there's a mirror effect. Like that was definitely a thought I had as well.
uh
But again, I don't know exactly who that can be besides Historia's child.
mm,
Um, but the other thing about that is, or just this panel itself, with the way the story is being told, how can we end on a note like this?
yeah.
Like, a positive note. Okay, the world's entirely destroyed, or the hero that we all loved, or at least I loved, at the very least,
Yeah,
is
yeah, dude.
dead. Like, how? I mean, it's almost too bittersweet at this point. But I don't see. I mean, if this is still the final panel, I don't see how it can be anything but bittersweet at this point.
Yeah, and it's probably gonna be more bitter than sweet.
Oh yes, wait, like we're talking 80, 90%, dark chocolate, or cacao, whatever the percentage things are.
Yeah,
It's gonna taste like dirt.
very, very, very dark. And I mean, I can taste that dark chocolate already. Well, let's move on to predictions. Predictions and and desires, I suppose.
Mm-hmm.
They usually go hand in hand when we talk about them. So my prediction, and also it's something that I really, really, really just want ever since the previous chapter is, and I guess longer, but especially like since the previous chapter, we got Historia previous chapter, but I want more.
Mm-hmm.
I want more depth and focus on Historia's mindset and her situation in general. And
Mm-hmm.
it would be nice, I think, to see that next chapter. Is my like first and foremost wish for
Yeah.
the next one. How about you?
I think that going on what, at least touching on what you said, if we get more into Aaron's mindset again for whatever reason, I
Huh.
mean, it's Isayama, he can divulge into that as much as he wants.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Um, if we do, though, I think we could see another case of Historia, whether in present day or maybe another flashback of Aaron's.
Hmm.
Because either way, I think they would be commenting on what Aaron is doing. Um,
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely.
mm-hmm. Whoever is with Historia, whether it be Zeke or some other party.
Hmm.
But I don't think we're gonna get that. I think we saw not the all the gruesome moments we're gonna see. There will be more, unfortunately, or fortunately, depending on you. Um, but I think we've got to the point where we get the weight of it all. Like, you
Yeah.
know, there won't be any. We won't have another chapter, or at least the next chapter won't be completely dedicated to showing, Aaron trampling the world.
Right.
So that's why I don't think we necessarily see Historia yet. That's my opinion, though. Not to say that she's connected with that, but I think with if Historia is going to be in the story, I think Aaron's perspective needs to be there as well. Personally,
That's fair. That's fair. Yeah, because the way I guess, at least in my head, obviously Isayama has proven me wrong countless times, but
sure,
or like done things that I didn't expect. But like the way
Mm-hmm.
I'm like in my head right now is like the way I could imagine seeing Historia appearing is through flashbacks, like
Mm-hmm.
during the years before and after she got pregnant,
Mm-hmm.
sometime around there. I think that's where the interesting stuff with her lies. Cause, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
like, we got a little bit in the previous chapter, but I think there's still plenty more to understand about her.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
that's what I want, and yeah, it's more so a desire than a prediction, I guess. Like
Mm-hmm.
I mean, yeah, I could see it happen next chapter, but I mean, I don't know exactly how likely it is. But
Yeah.
yeah,
Well, I mean, in terms of desire, yeah, I would love to see. I would love to see more of Historia, and I think last chapter I said I wanted to see Historia and Zeke come together
yeah,
eventually, but that's less of a flashback and more of present day. But I'm
that
not.
would be present day.
I'm
Mm.
just not sure if that's going to be the next chapter. But I mean, we thought that they'd be in Odiha next. At least I thought that they would be in Odiha next chapter. Yeah, I don't think you said that, but I did, and
Right.
obviously they're not there yet. So
Yeah.
my predictions, I don't know. I mean, we could say like, okay, here's more boat bonding time. Ships sailings left and right. But I don't know. It depends on how Sully wants to go. Maybe Floch will appear on the ship, and I keep saying that, but it seems to me that's the most likely
Mhm.
um, outcome outcome for him, and maybe we'll get some confrontation between him and a few people there.
Right. So actually, about Flock, I've also been saying similar to you how yeah he's gonna appear on the ship because he grabbed on, but at this point I'm starting to feel like they've already been on the ship now for two whole chapters,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm starting to think that maybe he's gonna hide on the ship, like assuming he is on the ship at all.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe he's going to hide on the ship throughout the entire boat ride to Odiha, and he's not going to show
Mm-hmm.
himself until they reach Odiha, and that's where they're going
Mm-hmm.
to have a confrontation with Flock at Odiha. I think that could be interesting potentially.
Totally. I agree. And if he is on the ship, he is definitely hiding at this point. I mean,
Well, yeah, yeah,
they're not welcoming him with open arms yet
yeah,
or ever. I don't know, but
uh,
yeah, he's waiting for some reason, whether it's he doesn't think the timing's right. Maybe he's struggling to get up. I don't know.
Right.
But I think you make a good point that that confrontation could happen not necessarily out in the open sea, but in Odiha.
Right. That's something I only started thinking about like after I had read this chapter, because it was such a
Yeah.
strong prediction from last month.
Well, right. I mean, I think with the pace that it was going,
Uh,
I think last month did slow down.
that's true.
Intentionally slowed down the pace just a little bit. But
Oh yeah,
the
that was. Oh
previous
my
two
god, that was
chapters,
2 months ago. Yeah. 2 months ago. That's when we had that prediction
yeah.
that he would appear on the
So, right. And so yeah, that part was like really quick
ship.
when they had that battle at the port. But then the chapter where Aaron starts the rumbling
Yeah.
much slower. Anyway, so like the pace has slowed down. So I can see it taking place, that confrontation taking place more so in Odiha now. So yeah,
Right.
I agree with that. Oh shoot, I had a thought.
Uh-huh.
Uh, do you have any more predictions while I try to think of my thought?
I have one other thing. Yeah. If it gives you some time to think, I'll share it.
Yeah, sorry, I had it on the tip of my tongue.
All right. So and this is something I kind of mentioned previously also as a prediction that could come to happen, is seeing as we never actually saw what happened to Annie's father and the others.
Oh,
you know.
dang it!
Is
That
that
was what I was gonna
that's-
say. Okay, keep going.
Well,
Keep going.
it's probably just gonna be the same thing as you were gonna say, but
Yeah,
like
probably.
like
Keep
basically. So I guess when I did predict seeing the rumbling from the perspective of the victims, that's like those are the people I kind of envisioned. Obviously, we didn't get to see them this chapter. We get to see it through Ramsey and Halil, but we did still get to see the from the street view kind of. But yeah, like those characters, we haven't seen them since there was they confronted the guards in the internment zone, and there was some conflict there. But we haven't actually seen them die or them anything with the Titans. So I think it's very possible that the Eldians there who did receive the message and they were freaking out, I think they were able to somehow escape. I think they were able to run away early, seeing as they got the message very early, and maybe they are currently safe. Obviously, the Titans will, potentially catch up, maybe, but I think
Right.
I think they might still be alive. The parents to
Yeah.
the Marley characters here.
I share that same belief. I think that unless he surprised us next chapter, which he could, but if they were
Yeah.
if they were to die, I believe it would have been this chapter. It would have been from their perspective this chapter instead of the
Right.
refugees. But obviously, like you said, they knew that it was coming,
Right.
and there's a potential that they were able to escape, or somehow during the conflict with the guards, they were able to escape somehow.
Yeah.
So where they are, whether it be just further away from where the Titans are currently, or maybe in Odiha somehow.
Maybe. Although I think that's very far away from Liberia. I think.
Right. They would
So-
have. Well, I think so. They would have to have taken some sort of transportation somehow.
Right. If they are there when they get there.
If they are there, correct. Right. So anyway, right now they are safe, and whether they remain safe until the end, we don't know that. I think to make things juicy, we're gonna get. I really think that we're gonna see the Lions somehow meet up with these, like Reiner's family and Annie's dad. But I don't know if that means they're gonna survive or not. Just saying that. I think it'd be interesting to have that moment where they're about to be crushed.
Right.
And
I
whether
mean,
or
maybe.
not, and whether or not they get crushed, it remains to be seen. But maybe Reiner and Annie are around to see them get crushed, which is
Ooh,
terrible.
I like that.
Probably good storytelling.
Yeah,
So
probably. Well,
anyway,
so I do have to bring up one counterpoint to this though. Like, while
sure.
yes, I do probably believe that they're still alive. Like, at least like I'm leaning toward that. Another part of me is like they could very easily have died off screen, because we have like previously in the story we have already had uh, bigger characters than Karina Brown and Annie's dad die off screen. Ymir being the one on my mind right now. Maybe there's more, but Ymir died off screen.
Yeah, I guess. But she had like moments like I felt like her death. I was really surprised when people were kind of confused about her death or
Oh,
unsatisfied or something like that. Because I remember people be like, no, wait. Where I remember people reading or the the manga and being like, I don't understand. Like, how, wait, is she dead or alive? Like, I don't get it. And to
oh,
me, it was
really?
crystal clear. It's like, well,
Yeah,
clearly
yeah,
she got eaten. She's dead. Like
right.
someone else has her Titan power. And
Exactly.
or like when they started the Marley arc and you see the Jaws Titan, then people are like, oh, okay, yep, she's dead. But
Right.
it was obvious they were going to do that to begin with. Whatever. Um,
Yeah, I agree with you 100%.
so I feel like the build, like she had like build up though.
Right. Oh
Um,
yeah, she did. She did.
that letter that she sent
Mm.
to Historia at the very end
Yeah.
was, I think a perfect way, or I mean, was a great way
Mm.
to, um, say goodbye to her.
Right.
In
Yeah,
a
I mean,
way.
I agree. I agree
And I don't think
completely.
we've had. And what I'm trying to say is, I don't think we've had that moment. Not necessarily we need that, but I think it would be nice to
Mm.
see that moment where, if they're going to die,
Yeah.
there's some sort of goodbye, or at least we see their final moments or something. I don't know. Does that
Mm.
make sense? What I'm trying to say?
Yeah, 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 dude, absolutely. Like, and like, I do mostly agree with you. However, I don't think it's 100% necessary. Like, I would be fine with them
Yeah.
actually being dead by now, like,
Really?
because
Mm.
they aren't that major of like characters.
No, no, they're not. They're not.
Like, I mean, Armin's granddad, I think, was his guardian.
Mm-hmm. Well, we've hardly ever seen him. Yeah.
Right? Yeah, like he was around in the very beginning of the story, but then he died in like during like
Right. They
the
sent them off to control the population or whatever.
yeah, pretty much, yeah, he was forced out
Mm-hmm.
into to fight the Titans.
Mm-hmm.
And like, so we've already had those like types of guardian characters, or like father parent characters, I guess,
Mm-hmm.
die without seeing it. So I wouldn't. I don't know. We'll see how it
Yeah.
goes.
You wouldn't be surprised if you didn't see it.
Yes.
I'm saying I think I would be. Not
Mm.
that I would be like, oh, how dare he not talk about them, but just I feel like the way they're building it up, it almost feels like that they're going to have at least one more moment, whether
Uh,
alive or dead. So
yeah.
I don't know. That's just me.
No, no. I think it's, yeah. It could go either way, but yes, I mean, I agree mostly with
Mm-hmm.
your point of view as well.
Yeah.
I'm gonna say, if it's not anything on parody next chapter, and if it's not anything, I mean, honestly, I think they're done. I think it's done with the rumbling, at least as the focus. So if it's not anything in parody next chapter, then it's going to probably be them reaching Odiha next chapter. I think that's very likely.
So I think this is my favorite chapter in a while. I liked it even more so than the previous one. That one had some good points to it, but it was stuff that we already knew. For the most part, it was already alluded to. But there wasn't as much depth to it. I mean, I like the part with Zeke and Aaron and Historian Aaron. That was good, but it wasn't as deep as this chapter or as impactful. This one had a lot of emotion and impact, and I liked that, and I liked the kind of theories that it brought up. So in that regard, I think this chapter is better than the last one, and this is probably one of my favorite chapters so far, especially in the past chapters that we've done.
I'm also gonna say it's definitely one of my favorite chapters in like the among the recent ones. I'd say it's my favorite one since 127, which was the campfire chapter. I still like that one more, but since that one, this is my favorite. Great month, and I can't wait for next month. Very well. Thank you everyone for listening to yet another episode of Titan Teatime, and we will talk about chapter 122. No, not 22. We've already done that one. 132. Chapter 132 next month, and we'll see you guys then. Bye bye.
Bye.